Noor Inayat Khan occupies a singular place in the history of the Second World War. A children's author and a Sufi pacifist who became one of the most courageous spies in occupied Europe, and a woman whose moral conviction endured through imprisonment, torture, and eventual execution. Her life combined the worlds of spirituality, art, anti-fascism, and resistance, making her legacy both historically significant and deeply human. Though she served in secrecy and died anonymously in a concentration camp, Noor Inayat Khan later emerged as a symbol of bravery, intercultural identity, and principled resistance against tyranny. Born on January 1, 1914, in Moscow during the turbulence preceding the Russian Revolution, Noor belonged to an unusual and intellectually rich family. Her father, Hazrat Inayat Khan, was an Indian Sufi mystic and musician who introduced Sufism to Western audiences. Her mother, Aura Ray Baker, was an American woman deeply devoted to her husband's spiritual mission. Noor was a descendant of the 18th century ruler Tipu Sultan, the famed Tiger of Mysore, who resisted British colonial expansion in India. This ancestry later gave Noor's life a historical irony. A descendant of an anti-British Indian ruler would eventually die serving Britain in its struggle against Nazism. Noor's early childhood was marked by movement and instability. After leaving Russia, the family lived briefly in London before settling near Paris in Chourisons, where her father established a Sufi center called Fazal Manzil. The household emphasized spirituality, compassion, music, and universalism. Noor was raised in an atmosphere that discouraged hatred and violence. Her father taught that all religions shared a common truth and that moral courage mattered more than power. These ideas profoundly shaped Noor's character. Friends later described her as quiet, dreamy, shy, and deeply sensitive, with a strong dislike of cruelty. The death of her father in 1927 changed the family's fortunes dramatically. Noor, still a teenager, assumed significant responsibility for her younger siblings and became emotionally protective of her mother. Despite financial difficulties, she pursued artistic and intellectual interests. She studied child psychology at the Sorbonne and music at the Paris Conservatory, specializing in harp and piano. Alongside music, she began writing children's stories and poetry. Her literary work reflected the gentleness and moral imagination of her upbringing. One of her most notable publications was a collection of Buddhist-inspired stories, 20 Jataka tales, which retold moral fables emphasizing kindness, sacrifice, and wisdom. By the late 1930s, Europe was descending into political catastrophe. The rise of Adolf Hitler and Nazi expansion increasingly threatened France. Noor's pacifist values placed her in a moral dilemma. She disliked violence, yet she also recognized the danger of fascism and racial hatred. When Germany invaded France in 1940 during Battle of France, Noor and her family fled to England. There, she made a decision that would define her life. Despite her spiritual upbringing and reluctance toward war, she chose to serve in the Allied cause because she believed Nazism represented a fundamental evil that had to be resisted. In Britain, Noor joined the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, WAF, where she trained as a wireless operator. Her linguistic skills in French and English quickly attracted attention. Britain's clandestine wartime organization, the Special Operations Executive, SOE, recruited individuals capable of operating behind enemy lines. Established by Winston Churchill, the SE's mission was to support resistance movements, sabotage Axis operations, and gather intelligence in occupied territories. Noor's recruitment into the SE was controversial from the beginning. Some instructors doubted her suitability for espionage. Reports described her as overly sensitive, insufficiently deceptive, and emotionally transparent, qualities considered dangerous in covert operations. She disliked lying and struggled with some aspects of military discipline. Yet others recognized extraordinary strengths beneath her gentle demeanor, intelligence, determination, linguistic fluency, and moral steadfastness. Most importantly, the SOE urgently needed wireless operators in France. Radio operators had one of the deadliest assignments in the war because German counterintelligence units constantly hunted clandestine transmissions. The average life expectancy for an SOE wireless operator in occupied France was measured in weeks. In June 1943, Noor was secretly flown into Nazi-occupied France under the codename Madeleine. She became the first female wireless operator sent by the SOE into occupied France. Operating in Paris was exceptionally dangerous because German surveillance was intense and resistance networks had already suffered devastating arrests. Soon after her arrival, many members of the Prosper network, one of the major SOE circuits in France, were captured. Noor suddenly found herself one of the few remaining active operators in Paris. At this critical moment, London ordered her to return to Britain because the network had effectively collapsed. Noor refused. She understood that if she left, communication between surviving resistance elements and London might disappear entirely. Choosing to remain in Paris meant accepting enormous personal risk. Moving constantly between safe houses, disguising herself, and carrying her wireless equipment through occupied streets, she transmitted vital intelligence back to Britain for several months. She coordinated supply drops, relayed information, and maintained communication under relentless pursuit by the Gestapo. Her work required extraordinary courage. German radio detection vans could locate illegal transmissions rapidly, forcing operators to move frequently. Noor narrowly escaped capture several times. According to later accounts, she spent nights on rooftops transmitting messages while changing locations constantly to avoid detection. The strain was immense: isolation, fear, betrayal, and the knowledge that capture likely meant torture and death. Eventually, Noor was betrayed. Historians still debate the exact circumstances, but evidence suggests that someone connected to the resistance network informed the Gestapo of her whereabouts, possibly for money or under pressure. In October 1943, the Gestapo arrested her in Paris. Even after capture, Noor demonstrated remarkable resistance. She attempted escape multiple times, including one dramatic effort across rooftops. Her persistence led German authorities to classify her as highly dangerous. The Gestapo interrogated Noor extensively. Despite severe pressure, she refused to reveal operational secrets or cooperate. Her notebooks reportedly contained coded information that the Germans exploited to some extent, but Noor herself divulged little. Her refusal to betray fellow agents became one of the defining aspects of her legacy. German officers described her as stubborn and uncooperative. After repeated escape attempts, she was transferred to Germany and held in solitary confinement at Pforzheim prison under harsh conditions. Shackled and isolated for months, she endured psychological and physical abuse without surrendering intelligence. In September 1944, Noor and 3 other female SOE agents were transferred to Dachau concentration camp. There, on September 13th, they were executed by SS guards. Accounts differ in detail, but witnesses later testified that Noor was beaten before being shot. Her reported final word was "Liberté, liberty." Whether precisely accurate or partly reconstructed through memory, the story captured the spirit of her life, resistance rooted not in hatred, but in devotion to freedom and human dignity. After the war, Noor Inayat Khan's heroism slowly emerged from the secrecy surrounding SOE operations. Britain posthumously awarded Noor the George Cross in 1949. This is one of the country's highest awards for bravery outside direct combat. The citation honored her most conspicuous courage. The award placed her among Britain's most revered civilian war heroes, though public awareness of her remained limited for decades because many SOE operations stayed classified after the war. France awarded her the Croix de Guerre with Gold Star. Yet for decades, she remained less publicly known than many wartime figures. Part of this obscurity reflected the classified nature of espionage, while part reflected broader historical patterns in which women, colonial subjects, and people of mixed heritage were often marginalized in mainstream wartime narratives. In recent decades, however, Noor's story has gained renewed recognition. Scholars, filmmakers, and writers have highlighted the extraordinary complexity of her identity. She was simultaneously Indian, Muslim, American-descended, British-associated, French-educated, and profoundly cosmopolitan. Her life challenged simplistic notions of national identity. She also became an important figure in discussions about women in warfare and intelligence history. Unlike fictional depictions of spies as glamorous manipulators, Noor represented a different archetype, an unwilling warrior driven by conscience rather than adventure. One of the most important recognitions came in 2012 with the unveiling of a bronze bust in Gordon Square Gardens in London. It was the first standalone public memorial in Britain dedicated to a woman of South Asian descent. The ceremony reflected growing acknowledgement of the contributions of colonial and immigrant communities to Britain's wartime history. Britain has also commemorated her through a blue plaque at her former London home, exhibitions at the Imperial War Museum, documentaries and biographies, inclusion in educational curricula, and a commemorative stamp issued by Royal Mail. Educational programs and biographies increasingly present her as a role model of ethical courage. Her story resonates particularly strongly in multicultural societies because it demonstrates how individuals from diverse backgrounds contributed to the struggle against fascism. What makes Noor Inayat Khan's legacy especially compelling is the apparent contradiction at its center. She was not naturally suited to violence or espionage. She preferred music, storytelling, and spiritual contemplation. Yet when confronted with tyranny, she chose resistance despite knowing the risks. Her courage therefore appears less like instinctive fearlessness and more like moral determination overcoming fear. This distinction gives her life enduring philosophical significance. Noor demonstrated that bravery does not require aggression and that gentleness and strength can coexist. Her life also illustrates the hidden dimensions of the Second World War. Victory against Nazism depended not only on generals and armies, but also on secret networks of ordinary individuals who risked anonymity, torture, and death. Wireless operators like Noor lived under constant threat, with little expectation of survival or recognition. Their work depended on trust, improvisation, and sacrifice. Noor's refusal to abandon her mission after the collapse of the Prosper network likely saved lives and preserved critical communication during a dangerous phase of the occupation. Today, Noor Inayat Khan is remembered not merely as a spy, but as a moral figure whose humanity survived the brutality of war. Her story bridges cultures, religions, and nations. It embodies resistance against oppression while preserving compassion and ethical conviction. In an age often fascinated by espionage as intrigue or spectacle, Noor's legacy reminds the world that the deepest form of courage may lie not in violence, but in unwavering fidelity to freedom, dignity, and conscience even in the face of death. In both India and Britain, Noor Inayat Khan is remembered as a heroic figure, but the emphasis differs according to each country's historical memory, political culture, and relationship to empire and war. In Britain, she is primarily honored as a wartime heroine and intelligence operative who sacrificed her life fighting Nazism. In India, she is increasingly remembered as a symbol of Indian courage, anti-fascist resistance, women's empowerment, and the global contributions of Indians during the Second World War. Over the past 2 decades, Britain has increasingly elevated Noor as a national symbol of multicultural heroism and female courage. Modern Britain often remembers Noor not only as a war heroine, but also as evidence that Britain's wartime struggle involved people from many ethnic, religious, and imperial backgrounds. As a woman of Indian Muslim heritage who died serving Britain against fascism, Noor has become an important figure in discussions about diversity in British history, Muslim contributions to Britain, women in intelligence and warfare, and the overlooked role of colonial subjects in World War II. In this sense, her memory today carries both historical and contemporary political meaning. A daughter of India in a global war. In India, Noor's recognition came later and developed differently. During and immediately after the war, Indian nationalist politics focused heavily on the independence movement and anti-colonial struggle against Britain. Because Noor fought for Britain during World War II, her story did not immediately fit neatly into dominant nationalist narratives. Over time, however, Indian historians and writers began reinterpreting her life through a broader lens. Today, she is increasingly remembered as an Indian origin heroine who fought fascism, a descendant of Tipu Sultan, an example of Indian women's bravery, and a global Indian whose life transcended national boundaries. Many Indian accounts emphasize the symbolic irony that the descendant of Tipu Sultan, a ruler remembered for resisting British colonial power, ultimately gave her life fighting for freedom in Europe. Feminist and cultural icon. In contemporary India, Noor has also become important as a feminist historical figure. She is frequently presented alongside other notable Indian women associated with resistance and courage. Her story appeals especially because she combined intellectual accomplishment, artistic sensitivity, spirituality, and extraordinary wartime bravery. Indian writers often stress that she did not fit conventional stereotypes of soldiers or spies. Her identity as a musician, writer, and Sufi pacifist makes her story emotionally powerful and distinctive. Recognition of Noor in India has expanded substantially in the 21st century through biographies, television documentaries, newspaper features, academic research, and public commemorations. Indian diplomats and cultural institutions increasingly invoke Noor as part of India's contribution to the global fight against fascism. Her story also resonates strongly with younger Indians interested in overlooked histories of women and minorities. Still, compared with Britain, Noor remains less widely known among the general public in India. Figures from the independence movement, such as Mahatma Gandhi or Subhas Chandra Bose, continue to dominate public memory of the 1940s. Yet Noor's reputation has steadily grown as historians broaden the understanding of India's global role during the war. What makes Noor Inayat Khan unique is that both Britain and India can legitimately claim her as part of their history, yet neither claim fully defines her. She lived across cultures. Born in Russia, raised in France, spiritually rooted in Indian Sufism, serving Britain, dying in Germany, while fighting for the liberation of France. Her memory therefore transcends nationalism. She represents a form of moral internationalism rare in 20th century history. Major films about Noor Inayat Khan include 1. A Call to Spy, 2019, a historical espionage drama about female SOE agents during World War II. Noor is one of the central characters and is played by Radhika Apte. 2. Liberté, 2021. A short live-action film centered specifically on Noor's final wartime experiences and imprisonment. 3. Enemy of the Reich, the Noor Inayat Khan story, 2014. Probably the best-known documentary entirely devoted to her life. Produced for PBS, narrated by Helen Mirren, and directed by Robert H. Gardner. Television adaptations and featured episodes. Adrishya, 2014. An Indian anthology television series. One episode dramatized Noor's espionage career and death. A Man Called Intrepid, 1979. A World War II television miniseries featuring Noor as a character. Churchill's Secret Agents, Netflix, 2018. A documentary reality hybrid series about SOE training. One episode discusses Noor's mission. Doctor Who, Spyfall, Part 2, 2020. Noor appears briefly as a historical figure assisting the Doctor during World War II. Did you know about Noor Inayat Khan? Have you watched any of the movies made about her? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching.